Not the weight that drags you down, but the weight that reminds you you are alive, aware, and capable of extraordinary transformation. 2026 is not just another year crawling toward you. It is a door massive, heavy, and waiting for you to push it open with intention, discipline, and clarity. Too often we move through life in a haze, reacting instead of choosing, surviving instead of building. We say we want change, but we hold on to habits that anchor us in the same place, over and over again. If you want your best life in 2026, you cannot wait for the year to change. You must change, and change begins with organization of your inner world. Before you organize your home, your goals, your plans, your finances, organize your mind. A scattered mind creates a scattered life. A disciplined mind creates a disciplined life. When you wake up each morning, ask yourself, what deserves my energy today? Not everything, not everyone, only what aligns with the life you are building. This is the quiet power of choosing order over chaos, clarity over confusion, intention over impulse. And understand this, to organize your best life, you must be willing to let go. Let go of old habits, let go of excuses, let go of the identity that keeps you small. You cannot step into a new year carrying the same weight that broke you in the last 2026 is your opportunity to build a life that reflects your highest values, not your fears, not your doubts. Structure your days, honor your routines, respect your own time, and you will discover an inner freedom far greater than the temporary comfort of staying the same. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect in motion. It is the quiet promise you make to your future self, I will not abandon you. So stand tall, breathe deeply, feel your spirit rising inside you. The path to your best life is already beneath your feet, waiting for your next step. Now is the time to act. Force yourself to organize your best life in 2026, not when you feel ready, not when life becomes easier. Start today, start now, and become the person you know you were meant to be. Before you can hope to organize any external part of your life, you must first understand that everything begins within the mind. Your thoughts shape your decisions shape your habits, and your habits sculpt the reality you live in. When the mind is cluttered, unfocused, pulled in every direction by noise, comparison, fear, and impulses, even the simplest goals feel heavy. But when the mind is orderly, clear, calm, intentional, your energy becomes a powerful tool instead of a leaking container. Mental organization is not about suppressing thoughts or forcing silence. It is about learning how to direct your awareness with purpose. It means recognizing which thoughts strengthen you and which weaken you, and choosing moment by moment not to feed the ones that drain your spirit. Too many people attempt to structure their lives while carrying an inner world filled with unresolved emotions, neglected responsibilities, and persistent inner chatter. They make lists, set goals, and start new routines, only to abandon them because the mental foundation was never prepared. Imagine building a house on shifting sand. No matter how impressive the blueprint is, the structure cannot hold. In the same way, if you don't first stabilize your mind, nothing you build around you will last. Mental organization is the soil in which discipline, clarity, and long-term transformation grow. This process requires honesty, sometimes uncomfortable honesty. You must look at the habits of thought that repeat in your mind each day. Are they disciplined or chaotic? Are they nurturing or destructive? Do they move you toward the person you want to become, or do they keep you circling the same patterns? You cannot organize your best life if your mind is constantly negotiating with excuses, distractions, or emotional reactions that rob you of presence. To organize your mind is to take ownership of the space your thoughts occupy. It is to create a mental environment that supports your growth instead of sabotaging it. Start by developing the ability to observe your thoughts without immediately reacting to them. This simple awareness creates a pause, and within that pause you regain your power. When you can see your thoughts instead of being controlled by them, you begin to understand which ones deserve your attention. Clarity comes from this practice. Clarity about what matters, what doesn't, and what must be released. And every time you choose clarity over chaos, your inner world becomes more aligned, more stable, more disciplined. Mental organization also requires intentional routines that give structure to your day. A focused morning ritual, even something as simple as breathing deeply, reviewing your goals, or setting one clear intention, can completely shift how the mind responds to challenges. The mind naturally seeks stimulation and distraction, so you must guide it patiently but firmly toward what truly serves you. Over time, this guidance becomes instinctive. Your mind begins to prefer clarity over confusion, purpose over impulse, and stillness over noise. Letting go is one of the most powerful acts of self-organization, yet it is also one of the most feared. People cling to what is familiar, even when the familiar is draining, limiting, or painful. The human mind often confuses comfort with safety, holding on to routines, relationships, beliefs, and habits simply because they have been present for a long time. But organizing your life requires clarity, and clarity cannot exist in a space overcrowded with what no longer serves you. To move forward, you must create space mentally, emotionally, physically, and the only way to create that space is to release the unnecessary weight you have carried for far too long. Letting go does not mean forgetting, avoiding, or pretending something never happened. It means acknowledging it fully, and then choosing to no longer let it control your energy or direction. Failures or criticism that once left a mark on your confidence. But those moments are not your identity. They are events that occurred, not chains meant to bind you. When you cling to old stories, you prevent new strength from emerging. When you hold on to outdated versions of yourself, you deny the possibility of becoming someone greater. Letting go also involves releasing obligations that do not belong to you. Many carry responsibilities that were never theirs to begin with, pleasing others, living by someone else's expectations, or carrying guilt that has long expired. These invisible burdens drain mental space and emotional energy, leaving little room for growth or renewal. You must identify what truly matters to you and what has simply been inherited from the world around you. The moment you stop carrying the weight of unnecessary expectations, your life gains room to breathe. Even your environment plays a role in this process. Physical clutter often reflects internal clutter. Objects you keep out of guilt, nostalgia, or habit silently occupy space that could otherwise hold clarity and purpose. When you let go of physical possessions that no longer bring meaning or function, you signal to yourself that you are ready for new experiences, new routines, and new possibilities. The act of clearing your surroundings becomes an act of clearing your mind. Emotional letting go is perhaps the hardest. Hurt, resentment, jealousy, and disappointment can settle deeply into the them only poisons the mind from within. Forgiveness, not for the sake of those who hurt you, but for your own liberation, becomes an essential part of organizing your inner world. When you release emotional residues, you reclaim energy that was trapped in the past and redirect it toward the future you want to create. In letting go, you also learn to trust the unknown. The unfamiliar often feels intimidating, but it is in the unfamiliar that transformation occurs. Letting go teaches you that you do not need to predict every outcome or control every detail. You simply need to create space for a new path to unfold. Stepping into your best life requires not only clarity and release, but also the deliberate choice to structure your days with intention. Every moment you experience is shaped by how you invest your time, your attention, and your effort. Many people drift through life without a clear sense of rhythm, responding to whatever pulls at them first: notifications, cravings, distractions, obligations that feel urgent but are rarely important. Without structure, even the strongest desires for change collapse under the weight of daily chaos. To organize your best life, you must create a framework that supports your energy rather than drains it. Structure does not mean rigidity. It means designing your day so your priorities have space to thrive. When you choose order, you create a container for growth. You signal to your mind that your time matters, your goals matter, and your well-being matters. A structured life is one in which you decide how your hours unfold, rather than letting the noise of the world decide for you. This begins with identifying what you value most: health, discipline, creativity, focus, progress, and arranging your environment and habits to reflect those values. Without this alignment, your intentions remain only intentions, never maturing into reality. Routines play a powerful role in shaping your identity. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. A morning routine, for example, is not simply a sequence of actions, but a daily declaration of intention. When you wake with discipline, move your body, quiet your mind, review your goals, or set intentions, you are not just preparing for the day, you are reminding yourself of the path you have chosen. Consistency strengthens the mind. It teaches you that you can rely on yourself, that you will show up even on days when motivation is low or obstacles appear unexpectedly. This reliability becomes a foundation for every other achievement in your life. Structure also reduces the friction of decision-making. When your days lack order, each moment requires effort just to determine what comes next. This constant mental negotiation creates fatigue and weakens discipline. But when you build frameworks, specific times for work, rest, reflection, movement, and creativity, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. Instead of wrestling with indecision, you simply follow the path you have already committed to. This path does not imprison you, it frees you from chaos. The act of structuring your life also involves boundaries. Without boundaries, your time becomes a playground for external demands. You must learn to protect your hours from people or activities that do not align with your vision. Setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of respect for your purpose, your peace, and your future. When you shape your environment to support your intentions, distractions lose their power, and your focus deepens naturally. Progress thrives in environments of order. Even small structures, dedicated work periods, intentional moments of stillness, consistent routines for self-care build momentum. Each day becomes a step forward instead of a tug-of-war between your goals and your habits. And over time, these small steps accumulate into profound transformation, not because you pushed harder than everyone else, but because you organized your life in a way that allowed your discipline to flourish. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction or hardship, but in truth it is one of the purest forms of self-love you can practice. It is the willingness to do what is necessary even when comfort tempts you to do otherwise. Discipline does not take from you, it gives to you. It gives strength, clarity, progress, and inner stability. It gives you the power to trust yourself, because you learn that your actions are not dependent on your mood or circumstances but on your commitment. When you honor discipline, you honor your future self, the version of you who will one day look back and recognize that every small act of consistency became a stepping stone toward a life of purpose and balance. Many people think they lack discipline because they imagine it as some force reserved for the strongest individuals. But discipline is not a talent, it is a skill, and like all skills, it's
aligning your actions with your intentions.
Without discipline, your goals remain ideas floating in the mind. With discipline, those goals become reality because you take consistent steps toward them. You learn to regulate your impulses, to delay gratification, to move through discomfort without running from it. This ability to stay steady in the face of difficulty is a form of inner power that cannot be taken from you. It builds resilience, teaching you that you are capable of more than you once believed. There is also a deep emotional freedom that comes from discipline. When your life lacks structure, you become vulnerable to anxiety, distraction, and mental clutter. You feel overwhelmed because everything seems urgent and nothing feels under your control. But discipline cuts through that noise. It simplifies your decisions, clarifies your priorities, and creates a sense of stability inside you. You learn to trust the process, knowing that each small step is moving you in the right direction. This trust reduces stress and brings a calm confidence that spreads into every area of your life. Discipline is not about perfection, it is about persistence. There will be days when you slip, when your routines break, or your energy dips. Discipline is not destroyed in those moments, it is strengthened by how you respond afterward. Returning to your path after a setback is discipline. Adjusting without quitting is discipline. Choosing progress over perfection is discipline. These choices build a mindset rooted not in harshness but in compassion and commitment. Through discipline, you reclaim control of your time, your energy, and your direction. You stop living reactively and start living with intention. You begin to see how every choice shapes your identity, and you choose more wisely. Discipline becomes a partner in your growth, a guide in moments of weakness, and a reminder that your future is built not by chance but by consistent, intentional action. Transformation is not a sudden burst of change, but a series of deliberate steps taken with awareness and intention. Each step you take becomes part of the foundation for the life you are building. Too often, people wait for a dramatic shift, an external event, a moment of inspiration, or a sudden surge of motivation to begin transforming their lives. But the truth is that transformation grows out of the quiet, consistent choices you make each day. When you learn to take intentional steps, you learn to guide your own evolution rather than waiting for life to push you forward. This approach empowers you to participate actively in your own growth instead of observing it from a distance. Intentional action begins with clarity. You must know what you want to move toward and what you want to move away from. Without this sense of direction, you may work hard yet remain stuck in cycles that lead nowhere. Clarity does not require you to have every detail figured out. It simply asks you to understand your priorities and the values that guide you. Once you have this internal compass, each step becomes more meaningful. You no longer act out of impulse or obligation, but out of alignment with the person you aim to become. Even when progress feels slow, aligned action reinforces your identity and strengthens your commitment. Every intentional step also teaches you discipline in motion. When you really decide to work toward a goal, you begin to act with purpose rather than hesitation. This strengthens your focus, and focus is a powerful force. It allows you to direct your energy rather than scatter it across distractions and unimportant tasks. You begin to recognize what deserves your attention and what does not. You filter your surroundings, your habits, and your decisions through the lens of your purpose. This filtering process sharpens your awareness and creates an inner order that supports long-term transformation. Taking intentional steps also builds self-confidence. Each time you follow through on what you planned, no matter how small the action is, you prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline, consistency, and follow-through. Over time, this repeated proof becomes self-trust. You stop doubting your ability to improve, and you begin to expect progress from yourself. This belief becomes a powerful motivator. It strengthens you during moments of fatigue, discouragement, or uncertainty, because you know from experience that you can continue moving forward even when the path feels difficult. Intentional steps also create momentum, and momentum is what turns small efforts into major breakthroughs. When your actions build upon each other, one day at a time, your growth accelerates. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, and what once felt distant becomes attainable. Momentum carries you through moments when motivation fades because your habits and routines are already in motion. You become someone who continues to move forward because forward is now your natural direction. Intentionality also means being present with the process, not just chasing the end result. You learn to see progress in everyday actions, the disciplined morning, the focused hour of work, the decision to choose clarity over distraction. You grow to appreciate the journey rather than waiting only for the final achievement. This presence deepens your awareness and allows transformation to unfold in a grounded, sustainable way. Accountability is one of the most transformative forces you can introduce into your life, yet it is often avoided because it requires honesty, responsibility, and the willingness to see yourself without filters. When you hold yourself accountable, you acknowledge that your growth, your progress, and your results rest primarily in your own hands. This understanding empowers you because it removes the illusion that change depends on circumstances, luck, or the actions of others. Accountability gives you control not over everything around you but over everything within you. It shifts your mindset from "why is this happening to me" to "what can I do about it?" That shift alone can alter the entire trajectory of your life. True accountability begins with self-awareness. You must be willing to see where your actions align with your goals and where they don't. It means recognizing your patterns, both the ones that build your future and the ones that sabotage it. Many people blame external factors for their lack of progress, but accountability asks you to look inward. Did you follow through? Did you stay consistent? Did you prioritize what mattered most? Did you speak truthfully to yourself about your effort? This level of honesty is uncomfortable, but it is the birthplace of growth. Without it, you will continue repeating the same cycles while expecting different outcomes. Accountability also involves creating systems that support your commitments. Accountability also involves creating systems that support your commitments. Accountability also involves creating systems that support your commitments. Accountability also involves creating systems that support your commitments. Accountability also, with the end, can rely solely on willpower. Even the strongest minds experience fatigue. Systems, whether they are routines, check-ins, schedules, or habits, provide structure and reliability. They make it easier to stay on track because you are not reinventing your approach every day. A journal to track progress, a calendar dedicated to your priorities, or a set time for reflection each week can anchor your intentions and make them more tangible. These systems act like guardrails, guiding your actions even when motivation wavers. Another powerful aspect of accountability is transparency, especially with yourself. When you write down your goals, acknowledge your setbacks, or speak your intentions out loud, you make your commitments real. They no longer float as vague ideas in your mind, they become promises you can measure and evaluate. This clarity reduces excuses because you have created a visible record of your journey. You can see your patterns, your progress, your challenges, and your triumphs. You become both the student and the observer of your own growth. Accountability also thrives with alignment. You must ensure that your actions match the identity you are cultivating. If you say you want discipline but repeatedly choose shortcuts, there is a misalignment. If you claim you want peace but feed yourself constant distraction, there is a misalignment. Recognizing these inconsistencies is not a moment for self-judgment, it is a moment for correction. Accountability allows you to realign yourself, to adjust your behavior so that your daily actions reflect your deepest intentions. There is strength in owning your choices, both the successful ones and the ones that missed the mark. When you take responsibility for everything within your control, you free yourself from the weakness of blame. You stop waiting for others to change before you move forward. You release the belief that circumstances dictate your destiny. Instead, you embrace the understanding that your decisions carve your path and your consistency shapes your future. Accountability also brings confidence. When you consistently do what you say you will do, you build trust in yourself. That trust becomes a powerful internal force, one that pushes you through doubt, fear, and hesitation. It becomes a foundation of self-respect. You stop abandoning your goals because you have learned to stand firmly behind your own commitments. This confidence spreads into every area of your life, your relationships, your work, your health, your mindset, because you know you can rely on yourself. Ultimately, accountability is the bridge between intention and achievement. It is the daily practice of honoring your word, aligning your actions, and owning your journey. Through accountability, you create a life that reflects not your excuses but your effort, not your fears but your discipline, not your limitations but your potential.